there's been this shift amongst the Black community around entrepreneurship. Do you believe that we're just getting a more educated generation of Black wealth, in that our parents, all they could teach us was either saving our money or education? Where this generation's like, no, you gotta own, and ownership and ownership and ownership? Or do you think what's driving the Black entrepreneurship is coming from this departure from corporate America?
Yeah, it's another potent question. And I think it's the beauty of all your questions, man, is not an easy answer, right? And I love it, man. I got to tell you, man, no, mad respect for what you're doing, mad respect. It's a couple different facets, right? So as each generation becomes older, they typically veer away from the traditions of the existing generation. So the boomers are hard workers and loyal, and my generation, Gen X, says, you know what? I saw what that got them, right? They don't have a good retirement and they got laid off pretty easy. So I'm gonna do my own thing and start this entrepreneurial aspect. And then you have the millennials that says, yeah, I see how hard the X's work. I don't want to work that hard to make my money. I'll just go develop an app and then, strike it rich quick, especially with the burgeoning of digital retail. So that's part of the factors that drive it. It's just that natural evolution says every generation will have a somewhat of a veering from where they saw their parents or their grandparents had to deal with. So there's just a natural level of wisdom being passed down. The other thing is that, the Black entrepreneurs, you have to take it for people entering into the job market and people in the job market or have been in the job market. So there's a trend where Blacks are getting to a certain point in their career and not progressing. They finally hit that exhaust button and say, you know what, I'm done. I'm just going to go do my own thing. And you're seeing a lot of that out of frustration. And it touches on something you mentioned previously. If one of the barriers to entry is me being my authentic self, there becomes a point when I start questioning how much am I giving up my authentic self to just get the carrot? So think about it. Could you actually be authentic with your natural self being Black and culturally Black? By the time you get home, you're exhausted because you're having to put on a second self. So by the time you get home, you don't even want to have a conversation because you exerted all the mental, psychological, and physical energy to put on this professional image so that you're not judged.
Wow.
That race could only last but so long before you either tap out or you implode or you just give up, right? So, that's part of it. And I think the awareness of the possibilities with the existing workers in corporate are becoming more prevalent, right? It's becoming way more prevalent, especially with the global marketplace. So look, man, any one of us could go start a distribution business tomorrow and start doing some B2B or business to consumer channels in any one of the international markets. A couple 100,000 contracts later, and you're a millionaire.
Wow.
So those are the opportunities, and people are doing it as a side hustle while staying on the books, getting the benefits.
We got to get you to do that YouTube video.
we can chop it up, man. We can definitely chop it up.
That's funny. Yeah. So let me ask you this. So we see a lot about diversity and inclusion perspective. So we have this exodus, right? These people going, you know what? Can't be myself. I'm about to go start my own business. Are the diversity and inclusion programs designed for the guy that wants to make it to the C-suite, or is it just to retain the people that you have, or are they effective at all?
Yeah, it's like pushing a rope uphill is what I say. So even if you think about that analogy, try to push a rope uphill, it just keep falling back down. There's an aspect of trying to be truly inclusive, to have the population be representative of the population that you serve or the city that you're a part of. And I think companies have been successful in doing that, especially with the investments a lot of companies have made in the local communities for people of impoverished backgrounds or diverse backgrounds, right? So I know of companies that invest in low income or even minority-based programs to kind of get a funnel back into their companies. Unfortunately, that's usually not at the level where decisions can be made. So diversity inclusion programs are successful and benefit a business at a certain level. The piece that's missing is diversity, inclusion, and equality. That
Mm,
equality aspect is not there. And again, every time you level up in an organization, so, at the frontline workers, hey, you could have a highly diverse organization. You level up to supervisor, okay. You level up to manager, all right. District manager, regional manager, you still into director, VP, okay. It's no longer DNI. It's
yeah,
usually, okay, you got one person and, you know, uh, typically that's it.
sure.
That's it. If you go look at the board of directors or even the executive leadership, senior executive leadership of most corporations, good luck if you find two Black people.
Right, right.
That says a lot.
Yeah, we got to get the cancel culture people on them.
No doubt. No doubt.
So we're gonna wrap here, and I appreciate your time. I think you brought some amazing dialogue, perspective. I feel pushed, and I think that's why we got to have these conversations. My recommendation to many corporations is always going to be, if you don't have it in your organization, you got to be okay with pushing your team and your leaders outside of the organization. And I don't know, whatever the industry is, whatever associations are a part of that industry, pay the money and allow your people to get that opportunity to network, develop, get resources, have a pipeline, someone that they can call and say, hey, Dell, let me tell you about something that's going on in my work environment. And then having that day-to-day connection is going to positively impact someone's feeling of belonging to the organization, have a positive impact on how valued they feel. You might even be able to slow their desire to even elevate, because they feel like, all right, I'm developing in this role and developing.
No doubt. Absolutely.
I'm comfortable staying here. Have you seen that where companies have invested from a D&I perspective in allowing their associates to go, engage with different leaders, different associations outside of the organization?
Yeah, I have seen that. I have seen a number of organizations do that. The thing that's missing, and I keep going back to it, and it could be a separate conversation we have outside of this, or you may want to cover it in one of your next YouTube videos, is that the balance of power still exists in the executive realm. And unless we have a voice in that circle, there's no way they could truly understand how we feel. Wow. And to the point you made on your last YouTube video, if the demographic of most of those leaders, if the demographic of their social networks outside of work doesn't look like us, how would they even know how we feel? Right. It takes years to really get to know someone. And if you're not around a bunch of us, all you're basing it off is assumption or some deductive experience that you've had in the past. And as we both know, that could be dangerous if the majority of Black people they get exposed to is not like us.
Sure. It's the problem we're in right now. So I guess I'll let you wrap us with this. What's the solution? Or I won't even put that much pressure on you. What's next?
Yeah, so I love the question, by the way, and I was willing to give a simple answer. There's not an easy solution. However, I do think that the executive realm need to get immersed in what this is, because you cannot be making decisions from the press box like an offensive coordinator. You need to be on the field, and unless they're on the field, there's no way they could know how the game is played. And there's no way they could know how to, us as the corporate workers, the corporate leaders, the corporate execs, what we're dealing with. Unless you walk a mile in my shoes, you wouldn't know. And it starts at the top. The executive leadership have to be immersed in it. If not, their perspectives wouldn't change, and there will not be any channels for additional opportunities for folks like you and me.
Wow, I appreciate your perspective, brother. Tell them again before we close out. Who are you? A little bit about your background as we close out.
Yeah, no doubt, man. First of all, shout out to you on what you're doing. Appreciate it. Honored to be part of it. Hey, Dr. Dell Birch, 25 years in corporate America. a lot of backgrounds, both in academic and global environments, touched every industry and every part of the value chain. So, you know, anybody want to holler at me, they could find me. They know how to get a hold of you. So that means they could get a hold of me.
That's awesome. Well, I'm going to close it out here. I appreciate the conversation about being Black in corporate America. I thought we had some great perspectives today. This is Deliberate with Dada, Attorney London. You can find me on Instagram at DA_DA0417. You can find me on YouTube at Attorney London. I appreciate you guys tuning in today. Peace. Thank you for tuning in to Deliberate with Dada. That was part 2 of Being Black in Corporate America with Dr. Dellroy Birch. Hope you enjoyed that. And for more content, please subscribe to my channel, Attorney London. The name of my show is Deliberate with Dada.